They don't hear me. Should I swing it like Dawn?
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. As a quorum is present, I will call the Transportation DMV Subcommittee meeting to order. The clerk will open the roll. Members are requested to indicate their presence on the electronic voting system. And once all responses are recorded, the clerk will close the roll. The clerk can close the roll. Before we begin considering the bills on today's agenda, I'd like to take a moment to establish the ground rules for our proceedings. As your chair, it's my responsibility to ensure that we maintain an order and a sense of decorum, and that the subcommittee's work proceeds in an effective and efficient manner. While we may not always agree on every issue before us, I encourage us all to approach our discussions with respect and professionalism. And regarding bill proceedings, unless otherwise noted, I will allow patrons to present their bill. Followed each bill presentation, we will hear 60 seconds of testimony from each speaker, both in favor and in opposition of the bill. Afterwards, committee members will have 3 minutes to ask questions. To those who have traveled to be here today, we are grateful for your presence. Your input is not only welcomed but valued. It is your right to petition the government, and we take that responsibility seriously. Please remember to speak from the podium and identify yourself for the record. That means including your name, city, and state, if applicable, and whether you represent any particular group or organization. And before we move forward, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the individuals who are seated up here with us, whether that is a clerk, a attorney, or a member of our fantastic IT staff, which are ensuring that this meeting is accessible to the public. We are very grateful for you. And we deeply appreciate your support in keeping this subcommittee operating smoothly and ensuring that all proceedings are accessible. The following bills will be considered. We have 5 today on the docket. I've spoken with the patron of House Bill 1836 in an effort to afford the patron some additional time to fine-tune legislation. It has been requested that the bill go by for a day. I will entertain a motion to do so.
Madam Chair, I so move.
Is there a second? Having been moved and properly seconded without objection, HB 1836 goes by for the day. Okay, we are on to the business before the subcommittee. First up, we have House Bill 1722. Delegate Price.
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair. House Bill and members, House Bill 1722 is brought to you on behalf of the Social Butterflies Foundation. They are the preeminent organization that is working in Virginia for lupus awareness, and we are finding more and more individuals are impacted by lupus, and not as many people know about lupus and the profound impact that it has on people as they should. So we are hoping to get this license plate in order to raise that awareness around the Commonwealth.
Wonderful. Thank you, Delegate Price. Are there any questions from the subcommittee? Seeing none, do you have anyone here to speak in support of the bill? I'm
not sure that they got here this early, but Social Butterflies is definitely in support.
Wonderful. Is there anyone in the room who is here in opposition? Seeing none. And let me just check and make sure that there are no speakers who are here to speak to your particular bill.
Madam Chair.
The committee operates by motion.
Do we have the proper number of applications? Signatures.
Yeah,
I believe so.
Yes, ma'am. So we do have the signatures in place and the money that is required to hit the threshold.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Austin.
Madam Chair, I move to report.
Having been moved and properly seconded to report House Bill 1722, the clerk will open the roll. The clerk will close the roll. House Bill 1722 reports by a vote of 8-0.
Thank you.
Delegate Price. In an effort to ensure that those who are visiting us versus subcommittee members have the chance to present their bills first, we will next hear from House Bill 2116. Delegate Keys-Gamarra.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Thank you so much. Before I begin, I do have a line amendment that we gave to the clerk. I'm hoping everyone has it, and I think that has to be moved.
Anyone like to move the line amendment? And then we'll have our attorney counsel share the bill. Having been moved and properly seconded, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone in opposition? Hearing none, the amendment is before us, and council will read off the amendment.
Madam Chair, the amendments are on line 100. It's a strike except subsection L, and on lines 101 through 104, strike L when requested by the applicant's parent, if the applicant is a minor, or the applicant's guardian, and upon presentation of a signed statement by a licensed physician confirming the applicant's condition, the department shall indicate on the applicant's learner's permit that the applicant has any condition listed in subsection K of section 46.2-342, or that the applicant is blind or vision impaired.
Thank you, counsel. Delegate Hughes-Gamarra.
Thank you. Madam Chair, members of the committee, this is a House Bill 2116 is language that is designed to improve our ability to have inclusiveness and notice for those that interact with people who may have a non-apparent disability. It simply provides a definition for that on lines 160 through 163 that allows a physician to document a non-apparent disability. And the purpose of this is to perhaps try to protect those citizens who may have communication difficulties, but may have to interact with police and others. And this has in the past created some problems. I believe it is in all of our best interests to try to clarify what our community members are experiencing in a way that protects them in their interactions. So I hope it is the will of this committee to report this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Hughes-Gamarra. Are there any questions for members of the subcommittee? Seeing none at this time, is there anyone present in the room who wishes to speak in support of this legislation? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? We have two individuals listed online who would like to speak in support. We'll begin with Mrs. Wallace.
Good morning. Thank you for letting me have the opportunity to speak on HB 2116. Thank you, Delegate Karen Key Kamara, for having this bill. As you know, this bill is similar to the situation that came up with George Floyd. We had a young man, Eric ID Law, as you know, named Eric, who was autistic. He did not want to have the same problem that George Floyd encountered of not being here. So he told his mom, said, "Mom, look, I am autistic. What can I do to make sure that I'm safe in case I'm stopped by the police?" So he started the Eric ID Law, which is in Maryland, House Bill 1456. This bill is very important because the fact that our vulnerable need to be protected. The bill would have an ID on it, whether you are autistic, hearing impaired, or the fact that you have Alzheimer's, mental distress, and this will help to ensure that the police would know how to interact with the citizens who are most vulnerable that have these issues. Unfortunately, we have two incidents that came up in Virginia. On March the 3rd of 2023, Ervo Neo Otino, a 28-year-old Black man who was transferred from one central state psychiatric hospital to DeWitt, was killed. Unfortunate. Second, we had Natasha McKenna, her 37-year-old, died when she struggled with deputies during a mental distress at the Fairfax County Jail on September 28th. And one that's really dear to my heart was a Kenneth Chamberlain, who was a senior veteran who apparently had a life aid medical alert around his neck inadvertently triggered in a response to the police. The police came out. These people are not here today. Perhaps this bill will be able to protect the vulnerable, keep us safe, and deter police encounter when citizens reach out to the police for help during a medical emergency. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk. I am a Fairfax County resident. I am an activist, and I thank you, and I pray that you vote yes for this bill so we can protect the most vulnerable. Thank you for your time, and thank you for all you do for the citizens of Virginia.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Next, we have Mr. Alex Sprague.
Thank you. It's next Alex Brigg, but I just want to say that I'm glad to finally see the DMV legislation like this, as I'm also autistic, as well as other invisible disabilities, and like it's been. I can't even get that on my ID because they say I need this paperwork, we should not have to go through all that. But this bill is an excellent start to fixing that, especially in emergency cases like you just mentioned there. So I think it's important that we pass this because it can't be about us without us. So thank you.
Thank you, and my apologies, Ms. Sprague. That concludes testimony, virtual testimony. I will now look back to the committee. Are there any comments or questions from subcommittee members? Delegate Austin?
Madam Chair, great bill. Thank you. DMV, I know you're present in the room. Does DMV have any issues with this bill?
Madam Chair, Delegate Austin, Brandon Bailey from DMV. No, sir, Delegate Austin. We did have some initial concerns, but the line amendments that were presented today can resolve those.
Great. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
The subcommittee operates by motion.
Madam Chair, move to report. Second.
As amended.
As amended.
A motion has been made and properly seconded to report House Bill 2116 as amended. The clerk will open the roll. The clerk will close the roll. House Bill 2116 reports as with amendments on a vote of 8-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we will turn to members of the subcommittee. We'll just go in numerical order. Delegate Anthony, you're welcome to present either here from the dais or from the podium. It's up to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the committee. I'm here to present HB 2022, which was brought to us by the Virginia Department of Aviation. It is to establish the registration of aircraft fees, increase fees for registrations of aircraft, and create a multi-year registration for aircraft for a period not to exceed 3 years. And so here, this legislation would increase annual registration fees for single non-commercial aircraft, single commercial aircraft, non-commercial dealer fleets, and commercial fleets. This legislation will also provide multi-year registrations up to 3 years for these aircraft and fleets and provide discounted registration fees for multi-year registration. The aircraft registration fee was set at $5 in 1979 without any provision for adjustment. So over the course of a 45-year period, inflation has raised the cost of goods and services nearly 400%. And so the Department of Aviation has been required to subsidize the aircraft registration process in the amount of $100K annually. Increasing the registration fees as provided in this legislation would eliminate the subsidy and make additional funds available to support the 65 public use airports in Virginia. And so the aircraft registration system is almost completely manual, relies on handwritten forms sent through the U.S. mail, and paid with either cash or personal check. The increase in registration fees would support the department in its efforts to move to an online computerized system that allows for electronic payments and will reduce the amount of time for both the department and the owners to register aircraft. And of course, as a private pilot myself, as a student, this is important for the general aviation community. So Madam Chair, I hope that it is the will of the committee to pass this bill.
Thank you, Delegate. Are there any questions or comments from subcommittee members? Delegate Austin?
Madam Chair, Delegate, thank you for this piece of legislation. As typical, we're always fairly in arrears. And this is a great piece of legislation. We need to support our Department of Aviation. We have airports all throughout the Commonwealth that are growing, or the economy is growing. And this is very much needed. So thank you, Delegate.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the room who wishes to speak in support of the legislation?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, good morning. Greg Campbell, Director of the Virginia Department of Aviation. Delegate Anthony did a fantastic job explaining the bill, articulating this bill. I won't add anything to that other than to say we appreciate your support, and this is an agency bill. It will, as she mentioned, enable us to better support the 65 public use airports of Virginia by reallocating those funds. Also allow us to modernize this process and improve the customer experience for aircraft owners throughout Virginia. So thank you.
Thank you.
Brian Pennington, representing City of Norfolk. We're here to support Norfolk Delegate Anthony. We think it's critically important to modernize our aircraft. We have a significant concentration in Norfolk specifically, so it would be will of the committee to pass this bill.
Wonderful. Is there anyone in the room here in opposition? Seeing none, and we do not have anyone listed online in support or opposition of the legislation. The committee operates by motion.
Move to report.
Having been moved and properly seconded to report House Bill 2022, the clerk will open the roll and members will record their vote electronically. The clerk will close the roll. House Bill 2022 reports by a vote of 8-0.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And last but not least, Delegate Austin with House Bill 2080. You can either present from the dais or from a podium.
I'll go down, Madam Chair.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. Appreciate your work. Today I have HB 2080, and this bill is kind of unique and sort of like Anthony's bill, Douglas Anthony's bill, where we're trying to play catch up in the Commonwealth with our efficiencies and improvements. This bill modernizes the vehicle registration process by eliminating the vehicle registration stickers placed on license plates. It does so by removing the legal requirement for motor vehicle owners to display a physical registration decal, establishing a digital system for verifying registration status, and providing law enforcement with electronic access to registration data in order to streamline enforcement. Currently, the DMV spends an approximate $2.3 million to produce and distribute these decals, and more than 560,000 residents spend 30 minutes a year waiting in line at a DMV customer service center to obtain them. Furthermore, it is estimated 60,000 decals are stolen annually. So this bill will address these issues by reducing administrative costs, improving accuracy of motor vehicle registration, and decreasing the need for most people to visit the DMV. HB 2080 does not eliminate existing requirements that motor vehicles are to be registered. The bill has support from the state police and the commissioners of revenue. Mr. Bailey with DMV is here. This is a pretty extensive bill, and pages of the code section that this bill touches. But if you have any questions, please ask them now.
And are there any members of the subcommittee who have any questions or comments?
Madam Chair, I have one question for DME.
Delegate Anthony?
So I just have a question just to make sure that the localities don't have tremendous impact. We know that the data sharing system portal is in existence. Will there be an additional cost to localities for that electronic information?
Madam Chair, Delegate Anthony, no, ma'am.
Delegate Fagans?
Thank you, Chair. This is for the DMV. Thank you for coming by and explaining. Would you be able to explain just a little bit more in terms of what we're looking at in terms of the cost savings and where that cost savings will be executed within the agency?
Yes, Madam Chair, Delegate Fagans. So as Delegate Austin presented, we do anticipate about $2.3 million in expenditure savings after the program is fully rolled out. We would be using that savings to increase our outreach to our customers. We currently send out a postcard about 2 months before the registration is due to expire. A lot of people, when they get that postcard 2 months out, they set that aside. They think, well, I got 2 months to worry about that, and then the 2 months go by. We would increase our outreach by sending out a second round of postcards. It would be closer to the deadline, about 2 to 3 weeks out. The remainder of the savings we would be reinvesting in our technology systems. As some of you may be aware, DMV's mainframe system is about 40 to 45 years old, and we're in the process of upgrading that now. It's going to be a 3-year rollout. Of course, it's a massive uplift for us. But one of the problems that we have is that students that are coming out of college now with their computer science degrees, they're not taught these programming languages anymore that our mainframe has. And by increasing our IT capability, we will be able to augment the technological systems that we have in place now to support law enforcement with their license plate checks and our relationships with the local governments that Delegate Anthony was referring to.
Thank you.
Seeing no further questions, is there anyone in the room who wishes to speak in support of the bill?
Madam Chairman, committee, thank you, Delegate Austin, for bringing this bill. I'm Mark Chilcott with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I represent about 130 locations in the state of Virginia for Enterprise. We have about 30,000 customers. We have to switch out of vehicles annually to bring the vehicle in and change out the decal, which is a major inconvenience, and many of those customers often refuse to come in, which can lead to other problems. So thank you very much. This is a much-needed bill.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the room who wishes to speak in opposition of the bill?
Good morning, Madam Chair. I wouldn't, Brian Pennington, City of Norfolk, I wouldn't say our comments are in opposition at all. It's just more of our Commissioner of Revenue has recently reviewed the bill. We do believe that there might potentially be an info sharing impact and that we really rely, the only way that we're able to tie the actual owner's information to the vehicle is actually through these decals that are placed on the plates. And so the very polite and gentle request, sir, was just to make sure that that information is in fact exchanged so that we can do our municipal duty to assess the taxation. Thank you.
Before we hear from the next person, can the DMV respond?
Yes, Madam Chair. DMV currently provides the information to the Commissioners of the Revenue, the treasurers in the localities when we provide the vehicle registration information to them about where the vehicle is garaged and provide that information to them. I'm not sure what information the gentleman was referring to, but we do have that electronic communication system in place now. And I spoke with the Treasurers Association this morning, and their question was whether or not that data system would continue to be in place because that's what they've used ever since the localities moved away from using the county and city decals to enforce the personal property tax payments. And my understanding is that this bill would not change that or have any revenue impact on what we charge them for that electronic access.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Good morning. I'm Mitchell Smiley with the Virginia Municipal League, and this was flagged for me by the City of Norfolk a few minutes ago. I just want to get up and say to the patron, we'd appreciate the ability to talk to him about make sure that this bill is not having any impact on localities. We are not in opposition to this bill. We just want to do our due diligence and make sure that this will work as smoothly as we think it will and can. So thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else in the room and having no one online here to speak in support or opposition of the bill, the committee operates by motion.
Madam Chair, I move to report.
Second.
A motion has been made and properly seconded to report House Bill 2080. The clerk will open the roll. Delegate Austin, how would you like to vote?
I would vote yay, Madam Chair.
Sounds good. The clerk will close the roll. Or can someone hit that? Actually, we'll hit it before we close it. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of committees, let me close by saying I thank you. This is a transition and a big transition for the Commonwealth. And as Brandon has said, our IT is very much outdated. And as we move forward, we'll receive text messages and emails rather than hard copy mails. And I think the technology is there. It's people like myself and Don Hall and Dale Bennett that of an era where this is a drastic change. It's a big change for us. But the new generations behind us, this is how they communicate, and this is how we should be doing business. And I think once we get the new IT in place, we'll see that this is very efficient and very effective and saves the Commonwealth money. So thank you for your vote.
So House Bill 2080 reports by vote of 8-0. We thank the delegate in advance for working with our localities to try to address this before the bill comes to the full committee, just so that we can have that additional point of clarification. So we thank you for providing your testimony. Delegate McQuinn.
Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. We also want, as we look at the new generation that's coming, not to forget there's another generation that are trying to catch up all the time in terms of technology. So we have to, make sure that we're addressing all of the dynamics out there. That's all. Thank you.
That sounded like a personal comment.
Yes, it is.
As there's no further business before the subcommittee, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. And there's been a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The meeting is adjourned.